Trojan Sports Now.
Hello and welcome to Trojan Sports Now. I'm Jonathan Sellers.
And I'm Danielle Percival. Stick around as we bring you the latest news and scores from Troy Sports. This past weekend was a historic one for Troy University athletics, and it all got started Friday night with the first game in the new Trojan Arena. When you play the first game in a new facility, you know the night will be memorable. But a 56-53 victory over Mississippi State made the inaugural game in Trojan Arena unforgettable.
It'll be obviously one of the top victories because of the significance of the game. You only get a chance to win the first game in a new place one time. So you can only make history one time. And this group of kids will know that the rest of their lives, that they made history tonight.
With 1.7 seconds left on the clock, Emil Jones drained the game-winning jumper. But it turns out that's not the play Coach Maestri called.
First thing, I got to give Emil credit for coaching. We called a different play. Emil's from Mississippi, from Hattiesburg. Has dreamed about this, really, to be honest with you, since last spring. He wasn't having a great game. I think he was shooting about 30%, and he pulled me on the side and said, "Coach, I got to have it." And we said, scratch everything that we just said. Put the ball in Emil's hands, let him take the last shot. You know, that's why he may be the next coach here, because he was right.
You know, I did have a rough game coming in. My teammates carried the load for the entire game, and I told Coach when we were in the huddle, I just told him I wanted it, and I was fortunate enough for them to give it to him, and I just happened to hit it.
Jones ended the night with only 10 points, but he got the ones that mattered the most.
I thought it was going in, but you know, you never know. I thought some other shots early in the game was going in too, and they didn't. I mean, it's unreal. I mean, you see stuff like that on TV all the time at the big colleges, but to have it here at home is great.
It's those things that you hear people dream about, and they see it, and they over and over, and all of a sudden it happens to them. It happened to him tonight, and so that was a big-time shot. It'll be one of the bigger ones in this arena for a long time.
And after a thrilling win against Mississippi State, the Trojans were facing another SEC team Monday night in College Station. Troy fell to Texas A&M 83-65. The Trojans made a comeback in the second half and cut the lead to 7, but a late run by the Aggies put the game out of reach. Hunter Williams led the Trojans with 15 points and 5 assists, while Ray Chambers added an additional 10 points. The celebration on campus didn't end on Friday night, however. Saturday, the football team hit the field for a battle against Navy and was looking to complete the memorable weekend on campus. Let's go, baby! Let's go! Saturday, the Trojan football team rallied the troops and sank the midshipmen 41-31 to complete a memorable weekend in Troy athletics.
It's a game I thought we could win. I wasn't sure, though. You know, the offense that they use, as you saw, is pretty prolific, and they always have big play capabilities off the option.
Facing a unit of the nation's defense, the Trojan defense was able to withstand Navy's triple option attack thanks to a successful week of preparation.
I think mainly that's attributed to how well the scout team played all week. You know, they were really out there getting it on us and really giving us all they had, really.
Our scout team guys did an excellent job this week. You know, they gave us a great look. We had a long physical week, and I think it got us, ready to play this game.
Wide receiver Katie Edenfield was responsible for the scout team offense this week and presented Navy's triple option effectively.
KD didn't practice at all on offense last week. And, of course, KD ran this offense last year for us when we were getting ready to play Navy, but he was not as involved offensively. But very unselfish thing I thought for him to do was to come out there and work all week as a wishbone quarterback.
I mean, I just know from just watching games, and one of my good friends plays at Georgia Tech. They run that similar kind of offense, so I kind of know a little bit how it works. So I was just trying to do my best to help the defense get prepared.
Well, Jonathan, it was a big weekend on the Troy campus, and turned out that the Trojans got 2 big wins.
Well, you're exactly right, and it all started on Friday night. And your story really couldn't do the atmosphere justice. I mean, it was a great story, but just the atmosphere in that new arena was great. I mean, fans came in at 6 o'clock right when the doors opened. Right. You never saw that in Sartain.
And it was packed out.
It was packed. 80 short of capacity, which is great. I mean, the largest game ever to see a basketball game in Troy. But they were loud throughout the game, and when he made that final shot, I mean, that place just exploded.
Erupted.
So it was so much fun to be a part of that history, to be there. And I know you being on the floor, it just had to be a different kind of experience, but it was just fun.
I mean, it was awesome. It was one of those games where you love covering it and you love the fact that you're there, but you kind of hate it at the same time because you can't cheer.
You can't be a fan.
So, but it was very exciting being down there on the court, being right there in the action after the game, following Emil as everybody was just mobbing him on the court. Right. It was a crazy atmosphere. It was so much fun.
Well, and the same thing on Saturday. It was great with the midshipmen coming into town. We had the flyover before the game, honoring all the military and all that. But the game itself was a great game. After what happened up there last year, you were kind of nervous about this one, knowing that their offense could just run all over us. But Troy came out and got that 21-0 lead, and it kind of reminded me of Western Kentucky when we jumped ahead 17-0, where I thought, okay, if we get some more points, then this game's ours. Well, Navy just kind of slowly came back into it. We kind of shot ourselves in the foot a couple of times, but this time we didn't. We bent a little, but we didn't break. We came back with big plays like that from Deion Anthony.
Right.
I mean, that two-quarterback system, they have just completely bought into it, and it's worked out great. You always hear if you've got two quarterbacks, you don't have any quarterbacks, but they've kind of turned that around and really ran with it.
Right, and I've actually got a feature coming up that will be focusing in on the two-quarterback system. We'll get into that in a little bit, but it was a big weekend, but it was interesting how the football team was actually tied in on Friday night with the basketball game.
Well, you're exactly right. They were there showing their support, and over the weekend the football team changed up their schedule just a little bit. Though the team stays out of town the night before a home game, Friday night, Coach Blakeney and the team were in attendance at the men's basketball season opener. Coach Maestri said it was good to have the support of all the athletes, including the football team, and Blakeney said it was worth having his team in attendance for the big victory.
I had a feeling that we were going to win a game, in basketball, and it would be good for our guys to sit there and be involved, and instead of in some crazy movie somewhere. If you can be involved in that kind of an environment at our place and seeing their fellow students out there.
While the Trojan defense was responsible for stopping Navy's triple option, it was the Trojan offense that put up stellar numbers yet again. The Trojan offense has certainly made sure everyone knows they're here.
We put up the most yards in the nation the past 2 weeks, so I think, we're kind of hard to keep up with right now.
In the past 2 weeks, Troy has accumulated 1,318 offensive yards, more than Oregon, who had 1,305.
Having more yards in Oregon sounds crazy the past 2 weeks, but they've done it every week. Man, if this would happen to us the first game and then carry out, through the whole season, that would definitely be a little bit more exciting. But I'm glad it happened, when it happened, and hopefully we can carry it over into the next 2 weeks, man, and put together some really, solid football games offensively.
The midshipmen saw Troy's two-headed monster at quarterback. Deion Anthony and Corey Robinson combined to go 34 of 40 Saturday and lead the Trojans to nearly 600 yards of total offense.
Our quarterbacks, they were spot on. I mean, they all have, both of them have their little packages that they really feel comfortable with.
But it's hard to defend, man. You don't know what's coming. We have both abilities to do, both things when we're in there, whether I hand it off or, he runs.
Every time I get in, I think it brings the secondary up a little bit. So they just expect them run, and sometimes we catch them and beat them deep. So, sometimes they just have to stay honest when I come in, so knowing that I could pass and run.
The tandem at quarterback is something Troy has implemented this season, but it wasn't until recently that both players committed to the system.
It was after the FAU game, me and him and Coach Reagan were just talking, just like, let's actually, let's buy into it. Let's believe in it. Let's actually believe that it's going to work. Just give it a shot, you know what I mean, and let's see what happens. And, we went out against Tennessee and both of us, played well, and then we went out last week and both of us played better.
Well, and the excitement continued this weekend and even this week away from campus as the volleyball team was able to clinch the number 2 seed in the conference tournament after they defeated the Owls of Florida Atlantic. However, Friday night the Trojans fell to Florida International in 4 sets. Kayla Pickert had 14 kills in the loss while Devin Von Pingle added 9. But it was Saturday's big win over FAU that clinched the 2nd seed for Troy and also marked the first time in 10 years the Trojans had a 21-win season and the first time in school history they made back-to-back conference tournaments. Brianna Coletti led the Trojans with 12 kills while Alexandra Alexander posted her 20th double-double of the season with 32 assists and 10 digs. Head coach Sonny Kirkpatrick knows his team had a good season, but it could have been better.
We've had a great season so far, but we know that we've left probably 7 matches on the table where we didn't perform up to what we're expecting ourselves to. And it's kind of bad to look back and say, you know, we're 20-11 right now. If we play any better, if we make one more play in each of those games, we could be 27-4 right now.
Well, the second seed in the tournament seemed to help as Troy opened with a 4-set win over Louisiana Lafayette on Thursday. Also at the tournament, Blair Winston and Alexandra Alexander were both named second team All-Sun Belt.
Well, in the first game under the reins of new head coach Shanda Rigby, the women's team was unable to defeat Winthrop Sunday. The Eagles defeated the Trojans for the second straight year, but this year's 87-82 game was much closer. The Trojans held a late 77-75 lead, but could not make a basket over a 2-minute span, and that allowed the Eagles to take an 83-77 lead. However, with 39 seconds remaining, the Trojans were able to cut the lead to 1. But 2 late free throws were the dagger for the Trojans. Ashley Beverly Kelly, a true freshman, led the Trojans offensively with 19 points, and Jasmine Pitts added 14 more. The 82 points was the Trojans' most they had scored since the 2009-2010 season, when they scored 84 against Middle Tennessee State. And on Wednesday night, the team put up even more points, but it wasn't quite enough to pick up their first win. In their first home game in the new Trojan Arena, the women's basketball team made an intense comeback in the second half, but it wasn't enough to lead them past Mercer, falling by a score of 96-90.
We're going through some growing pains right now, and they're necessary. So whereas we would love for it to look all squeaky clean and pretty in front of our home fans, what's most important is we get to be as good a team as we can be, and like I say, we're going through growing pains that are necessary.
The Trojans jumped out to a 9-point lead in the first half, but fell behind by 11 at the break.
The collapse is going to happen when we're not pushing the ball up the court. Everything revolves around pushing the ball up the court quickly in 12 seconds or less, and then turn around and press behind it.
Troy was down by as many as 22 in the second half and 21 with 8 minutes left in the game, but pulled to within 3 with 28 seconds to go. One area that helped keep the Trojans in the game was three-pointers. Troy shot 52% from behind the arc and had 12 threes to Mercer's 2.
I feel like we didn't have enough faith in ourselves in the beginning, but towards the end, then it started kicking in and we were trying to do what Coach taught us.
We're getting used to how she wants us to play. We're going to get there. By the time conference comes, we're going to be unstoppable. So, we're 0-2 right now, but it's going to be 1-2 on Sunday.
McCapian says with the coaching change this season, more has changed than just the style of play.
There was a lot of baggage last time, and now everyone's like, I've got a new opportunity to play. I'm going to prove to coach that I can play. So it's a big difference from last year. We're completely, it's the same core group of girls, but we're playing completely different.